Today's story is about a 10-year-old famous doctor. Yes, so many people have lived their lives at such a young age, but no one in the city knows that he is actually a doctor. And at such a young age, he took on a terrible mission. So friends, what is the mystery of this cute Dr. Chocolate's life? And how did such a young man become such a great doctor? All this is happening in my today's story. So, at the beginning of the story, we can see a 10-year-old little girl named Yu. She is watching a Korean drama in the plane. After a while, due to sudden bad weather, the condition of the plane gets worse. And with that, the main pilot of the plane gets panicked and becomes unconscious. Seeing this, the cabin crew tells the passengers inside the plane, "Is there a doctor among you? Our pilot is very unwell." Hearing this announcement, Yu tells the person next to him that he is a doctor. Hearing this, the cabin crew is very happy, and Yu comes to the cockpit with the person next to him. A few hours later, the little girl, that is, Yu, holds a red surgical toolbox in her hand and enters the cockpit of the plane. That is, not that person, but Yu himself is the main doctor. And the person he sent to the cockpit earlier was only his assistant. So, seeing this situation, the co-pilot of the plane is shocked. How can a child of such a young age be such a big surgeon? And he can't accept this at all. Yu then looks at everyone in such amazement and says, "Age is just a number. And I'm a little kid, don't think I can't be a doctor." So, after a while, the unconscious pilot leaves the test room. A blockage has been created in the cabin. At the same time, a hole is made around the pilot and a breathing tube is attached there. And this is how the pilot saves his life this time. Seeing Yu's courageous work, everyone on the plane is very happy. So, before taking off from the plane, Yu can see some chocolates in the plane. And as a small reward for his work, he only wants these chocolates. And here we can understand that Yu is not an ordinary child. He is a man full of medical knowledge. And that's our Miss Chocolate Doctor. So, let's get to know a little more about this little chocolate doctor. Yu has a secret mission with his mentor, Ted Shaw. Their main purpose is to find out the real mystery behind Yu's parents' death. Yu's father's name was Kuji. Yu's father, Kuji, was a famous heart surgeon. That's why everyone knew him by the same name. But unfortunately, due to an incident, Yu's parents died. And since then, Yu and Ted Shaw have been working together. Anyway, Yu doesn't want his real identity to come out in any way. Actually, Dr. Chocolate is a mysterious name to the outside world, because no one has ever seen him directly except the patient. So, if you want to treat someone, you have to deal with everyone first. No one can tell anyone about Dr. Chocolate's identity, and in this way, Dr. Chocolate becomes a mysterious name to everyone. So, the one we can see now, this girl's name is Okajo. She is a journalist who is desperate to find out the real identity of Dr. Chocolate. She believes that Ted Shaw is somehow connected to Dr. Chocolate, because in this plane, she can see a hand in Ted Shaw's hand, which goes very well with the chocolate doctor. That is, those who come to take treatment from chocolate, everyone has seen a person with a hand in Ted Shaw's hand. So, from then on, Okajo starts looking for Ted Shaw, and after managing his address, he is given a business card. So, after this, the situation changes, and we can see an old man spending some private time with two girls. But after a while, he is found unconscious there. This man is a member of a community, and with that, an influential person of a political party. So, it is not possible to take him to the hospital to keep his father's name. That is, such a noble person has become unhealthy by contacting some unknown person. This cannot be said outside. So, after this, he contacts the chocolate doctor for his father's treatment. But the surprising thing here is that without asking anything about the condition of the politician, the representative of the chocolate doctor, that is, Ted Shaw, he agrees to treat the politician. Then Ted Shaw calls the politician's son and asks him to keep 3 things. First is the agreement of 100 million yen, a secret contract, and the best chocolate in this country. To get rid of this, that is, to operate the politician, Ted Shaw appoints 6 members, who are selected with a lot of care. but each of them has a different background. That is, the 6 of them are not from the same field, but they are all very good at medical science. So, Ted Shaw gives them 10 million yen for each operation. So, let's get to know these 6 people. The first person is Unagi. He named him Unagi because of his love for Ilsa. He has become quite famous in the narcissism, and he is also very good at drug dealing. The second person is Jandaka. He is a jeweler and a very good anesthesiologist. He named him Jandaka because of his love for the earth. And in Japan, all these people are actually called Jandaka. The third person is a woman named Gilbert. She is also an anime creator and clinical engineer. He named this woman Gilbert because Gilbert is the name of his favorite anime character. She will design the necessary medical equipment for this operation. The fourth person is Wari. He is a comedian and a good radiologist. He is an expert in radiology for various diseases. The fifth person is Ashio. He is a blind man, but a very good nurse. He has extraordinary physical strength. And the last person is Devga. He is a volunteer type and a medical lab technician. His job is to make sure that all the lab tests are done correctly, and the results are all right. Then we can see that Ted Shuai is reading an article about the World War II. His parents were killed in the war. Many people think of this incident as a tragic accident, but an article has been called a murder. And this article was actually written by the same journalist. But unfortunately, this article was not published anywhere, and for some reason, there is no follow-up or strong evidence from there. But Ted Shuai is very curious to know the truth behind his parents' death, so he has no choice but to meet Okoju, because he can ask Okoju about his article in more detail. But after meeting him, Okoju behaves like Ted Shuai. He does not give him any answer openly. On the other hand, Okoju suspects that Ted Shuai is Dr. Chocolate, so he tries to gather more information about him. But Okoju's suspicions break right away. When Ted Shuai says that his one hand is paralyzed, it means that he can only operate with one hand. But this is not possible in any way, because Dr. Chocolate's operations are very risky. It is impossible to operate with one hand. That's why Okoju is sure that Ted Shuai can't be Dr. Chocolate. But after this incident, we can see that Ted Shuai and the other 6 team members are discussing their first surgery together. Their patient's name is Norby. She is a member of parliament. I was talking about that politician. She is suffering from brain hemorrhage. Her surgery is very difficult. A small mistake here can completely damage her brainstream. Only 30 doctors in Japan can do this serious operation. So when Ted Shuai wants to know about the location of this team member, Dr. Chocolate, he says that you will soon know everything about him. So after this meeting, they all sign a secret agreement, because they can never go out and say who is Dr. Chocolate. So after this, Ted Shuai and his other team members enter their operating room. And just when the surgery will start, the child and the girl come there with everyone's attention. They all become very excited when they realize that this girl is Dr. Chocolate, and she will lead this surgery. But if there is a small argument there, then she tells everyone to focus on their work. And then we can see that she carefully opens the patient's skull, and the surgery starts. Seeing her clumsy work, the rest of the team members are completely stunned. So when this surgery starts, she remembers an event 2 years ago. And then the story goes into flashback. At that time, there was a party at their house. She was very happy. And I told you before, her father was a genius heart surgeon, and her mother was a researcher. And from here, we can understand where so much talent came from in her. From childhood, she was not like the other 5 children. She never played like children. At that time, she watched various types of surgery videos and all medical boy boards. But in that party, she suddenly had a big explosion. But at the time of the explosion, she was able to see a man wearing a mask in her father's room, who had a tattoo on his hand like DNA. After that explosion, she saw her parents in a state of shock. But the moment she goes to meet them, Deadshot comes there, and she can realize that someone is trying to kill them. So she starts running away from there. While running through the forest, she thinks that Deadshot's hand is broken in many parts, and after checking it well, she can see that almost all the bones in his hand are dead, and the broken part of this hand must be separated from the rest of his body. Otherwise, these dead bones will be scattered all over the body. She doesn't want that to happen in any way. So she uses the surgical tools she had with her and cuts off Deadshot's hand, and saves him as if he were alive. But this time, the story goes back to the present, and we can see that there is a strange call on Deadshot's phone during the surgery. He says that a politician is behind this explosion, and the reason for this was that his father had a pharmaceutical company, and he had a secret relationship with the politician, and he also wanted to report it outside. And it can be seen that today's patient is the same politician, whom he is now operating on. After knowing this, he doesn't even try to save the patient. How will he save him? He can't even imagine that he is operating on his parents' murderer. He is still angry. In this situation, he keeps demanding from the patient to bring his parents back. At the same time, he leaves the surgery in the middle, so that this person dies. But at the same time, he remembers the teaching of Deadshot and his parents. A doctor must save life regardless of the patient's wrongdoing. That is, a doctor's job is to save the patient's life, no matter how bad he does it. When that person comes to the doctor, he will be called a patient. And remembering this, his surgery continues. After the surgery, Deadshot tells the clients about the explosion of his father's accident 2 years ago, and asks him to resign from the leadership of the election party. And then Deadshot gives 10 million yen to each member, and he gives everyone a chocolate. After a while, the police come there again, and they leave from there. Then it is seen that after their second surgery was successful, he invites everyone to eat chocolate. And at this time, everyone knows that he has not been going to school for the past 2 years. There was a girl named Onaji. She has a special knowledge about psychology. She tries to understand his state of mind. Onaji asks him if he wants to go to school again with his new friends. Even if he does not answer, his face can be clearly understood that he really wants to go to school. Onaji then promises him that he will arrange everything necessary to transfer him to school. And then he goes to the playground and tells his friends that he will also come to their school transfer. I mean, he is very happy to know that he will be admitted to school. He and Deadshot have a lot of money, but even if they stay, they do not have any permanent residency. They mostly roam in the car. One day, a beautiful girl comes to Deadshot. She finds out that there is a tumor in his blood vessel, and she knows that almost all the doctors have given up. They said they can't do anything. Now this girl has the last hope of Dr. Chakla. But when she finds out about the 3 conditions for taking treatment from Dr. Chakla, that is, she has to pay 100 million yen. The girl gets very scared, because he didn't have so much money that he would treat her with $100 million. So this girl leaves the call in a bad mood, and Deadshot finds it a bit strange. So Deadshot asks the client for all the details. He finds out that he works as a normal employee. His monthly salary is 20,000 yen. How will he treat her with 100 million yen? It is impossible to treat her in any way. But a few moments later, Deadshot finds out a shocking news. That the same member of the parliament, that is, Nora, whom they had saved, committed suicide. Deadshot gets a lot of frustration, because he had saved her with so much effort to know the story of the universe 2 years ago, and he committed suicide before that. What is even more surprising is that Nora's son has also woken up. That is, since that day, no one has been able to interact with him. So that day in the afternoon, Deadshot meets Okuji again and discusses Nora's death. Okuji then confirms that I think it's not a suicide. Okuji then further says that he has written an article where 2 years ago a person was killed for the world, but he has not yet received any important information from Deadshot, so he does not want to share anything with Deadshot. After that, Deadshot sees a video of the chocolate doctor for some reason, and says that this little girl is the famous heart surgeon chocolate doctor, and after the universe, this girl was declared innocent. And in that video, he mentioned that the little girl saw the face of the criminal, and told him the story. Deadshot then further says that, actually, I took this little girl to Singapore to save her from the hands of the criminal. So after making such a big secret, Deadshot hopes that Okuji might tell him about the person this time. like the second person who was involved in the murder of his parents. But then Deadshot tells him another story. He says that I went to the police station 2 years ago to report that the universe is not an accident, or it's a murder plan, but the police didn't believe any of it. On the other hand, that day he was about to be kidnapped by a woman, and at that time he saw the same tattoo on the woman's hand, which he saw in their house, means the day of the universe. And because of all this, he goes far away with fear, means he goes to Singapore. The next day, we see that Okuji goes to a gangster's headquarters and wants to meet a person named Saru, which is mentioned in the article by heart surgeon Kujir, means behind the murder of his father, he mentioned as a suspect. So after that, a girl named Kimono greets him there, and it can be seen that she is a member of the mafia group. She tells Okuji that Saru is a culprit in this case, but now Saru has no contact with their mafia group, because they never support murder in their group. On top of that, Saru also went to kill their leader. That's why they broke all contact with Saru. So Okuji goes away from there with this news. And after that, their female leader's disease gets worse. Means Ted Shua was called about the treatment. She is their female leader. But the problem is that she doesn't have that much money. And Ted Shua thought she was an ordinary commoner, that she can't do this operation in any way. But just at that time, the female leader becomes very weak. Her assistant keeps a bag of money with her. There was 100 million yen in that bag, because their leader is very dear to all of them. They all tell their leader that we are all a family. We work together. So the problems of the family members will come to the family members. So you take this money and do your treatment. We will all be very happy with this. You are very important to us. So your health is also important to us. So that night, Okuji informs Ted Shua that one of the world's most important person of that day was Saru. And since then, he knows that Saru has been expelled from that group. And no one knows where she is now. Even the current members of the mafia group are very suspicious because all their members are involved in this crime. So after this, Ted Shua can see the picture of their next patient. Means he can see the picture of the female boss. And he recognizes her just by looking at the picture. If he reveals it, he will be forced to meet the rest of the members of his team. Then they discuss that the new patient is suffering from adrenal humor, which is associated with blood pressure. This surgery is very dangerous. Then the whole team gets ready in their medical uniform. They are shocked after hearing the location of the patient, because this patient is not an ordinary woman. She is the leader of a mafia group like Riti, and all the members of the mafia group have come here. And they tell Ted Shua that if the operation is not successful, then they will not leave them in any way. Means they will spoil their condition. Means they will give them an open threat. So after all the requirements of Dr. Chocolate are fulfilled, means after fulfilling all 3 conditions, they will start the operation. At the same time, a member of the mafia group is surprised to see that Sergeant Ted Shua is a 10-year-old girl. He is very sad to see this. He does not want to operate on this girl. He says that, how can a 10-year-old girl operate on me? Who is the best doctor among you? She will operate on me. She is not a girl. At the same time, he assures the leader that you do not worry. I will save you in any way. And as usual, this time the operation will be successful. You just relax a little. You will not get hyper during the operation. So when this operation starts, a lot of noise starts outside. There is a lot of commotion, but he is still very calm, and he tells his team members not to lose focus at work, because it is very important to keep the focus during the operation. And in this operation theater, I finished the first part of this series. Now it is a matter of seeing whether half of them will be successful in the operation or not. And the noise outside has started again. If you want to know all this, you have to watch our next episodes. If you like today's story, then you definitely know by commenting. Do you want to watch the next episodes? I will try to explain the next episodes in a very beautiful way, because every beautiful comment of yours increases my work spirit even more. So stay with me today. See you at a different time with another beautiful movie story. Until then, all of you will be fine.